Oh, there we go. Stop faffing now. Right. The sun's gone in, but never mind. Ladies and gents, we are at the Nuki Aero Hub Business Park. And this guy here is letting me have a go on this thing here, which is the 2022 Tiger 1200 Rally Pro. It doesn't have the bulbous rear growth on it for the rear sensor, rear radar, which I think you did a very good job of choosing. Dad's not on camera because he charged his GoPro last night, but forgot to bring it out with him. So I will be talking to him, but you guys won't be able to hear. This is the Rally Pro version, which means it's slightly taller. It's obviously got the higher suspension. It's still electronic suspension, which is nice on this model, where normally with the Rally models or the R models of most bikes, they will go manual suspension, which I think is a bit crap, if I'm honest. And now I'm comparing this directly to this beast. As you will all know, this is my KTM Super Adventure S. I've got a few modifications on it, as you all know. So I've got the crash bars, I've got the Denali's, I've got the exhaust, I've had it remapped. So it's not a direct comparison to a stock bike, but it's close enough. Dad's had this bike for a couple of months now. We've done the Norfolk ride out. No, not Norfolk, Yorkshire ride out. You've done quite a few miles on it already, haven't you? So yes, other than that, the bike's pretty much stock. Lower crash bars are standard, these upper crash bars are an additional extra, and then obviously the fog lights come as standard. I think the only other accessories it's got the headlight protector, stock exhaust. These are the stock tyres, the Karoo 4s. You can look up all the specs online. I'm not going to go through all that stuff. The only other thing this has as additional is this is the lowered heated seat, because Dad is, like me, he's relatively vertically challenged. So you're 5'8" and a bit, 5'9", something like that. I'm 5'9", I've got 32 inch inseam, so we shall see how I fare. But yeah, let's get on the road before that rain comes in, I think. You've got to deal, you need an ABR sticker this year, you haven't got one. The big thing that I can notice on this already over mine is that thing. It's got a great massive shaft. Do love a good shaft. Dad's just going to be listening to me making all these sus jokes. He's got to try and work out how to start it. Yeah, it's just connected to my cardo. So all this ride, it's just going to be going bike connected, bike disconnected. Right, let's get the bike on. How do we on it? Power button, I guess. Steering lock disengaged. There we go. This is a... what is this? It looks like about a 7-inch TFT, which is actually really nice. It's got these lovely animations on it. Like if I press right on the control panel, it gets all this sort of stuff coming in. That's really cool. I like that a lot. They are a little bit slow, but I assume they'll probably get quicker with updates and stuff. Clutch in. Oh, it's very smooth. So very quickly, we've got, these are the front headlights. As you can see, you've got a lovely little DRL, and then you've got two headlights on the side and that bit in the middle. And there we go, you'll be able to see, that's your high beam. It's very smooth. Like sitting on my bike, it's like but this feels like the engine's almost not even on. And it's also got backlit switchgear, that's very nice. Right, let's get going. Oh, the biting point's very early on this. I mean, immediately, this is very smooth compared to my bike already. It's very free of vibrations, whereas my bike isn't, as you all know. Right, that is very smooth. Yeah, this is very comfortable, Dad. Really comfortable. Dad just said he feels like he's on a jackhammer for everyone that's watching this video. It's yeah, that bike is very aggressive. So I've got my riding aids, my TPMS and stuff like that. So I'm currently in sport mode, auto suspension, and then it will auto level and things like that as well, which is very nice. It doesn't have any anti-dive or anything like that. Dad's upgraded from a Tiger 900 to this. He says otherwise, but I'm sure it's because I got my bike and he couldn't have me having more power than him. He had his Tiger 900 for a couple of years, did what, 10,000 miles on it, something along those lines. Really enjoyed the bike, but I think there's when you've had bikes previously with a lot of power, you kind of lust after them a bit more. I don't know whether that's the right way of putting it. Across the range on this model, this updated version, they've got 150 PS, which is what, 148 brake or something along those lines. So compared to previous generations of Tiger, this has got buckets more power. And it is, oh, your Monimoto's ringing me. Your Monimoto keys in the pocket. Your fob, I guess. Mine's in my tank bag. So Dad's got a Monimoto in this, and it's ringing me because he's still got the fob in his jacket pocket. It does feel very big in front of me. This like, it looks very wide here and then comes down very narrow, but it's actually really comfy. The bike feels quite thin where I'm actually sitting, so I could get my feet down okay, considering it's still quite a tall bike. The GT model, the GT Pro and everything, I think they're slightly shorter, but the rallies have obviously got the 21-inch wheel and everything. Obviously this comes with self-cancelling indicators and all those sorts of whiz-bangeries. It comes with the adaptive headlights and everything, the cornering headlight. So obviously with the new power comes the slight disadvantage that it's not as good on fuel. You're sitting on the motorway around motorway speeds, he's not getting much more than 48, at tops maybe 50 mpg for the UK, which isn't amazing, but then at the same time you've got a beefy tank, so it's not like the end of the world. And it does feel like, the other thing I was worried about, I think, well, not worried about, but the other thing I was sort of thinking about was I wonder whether it would feel unbalanced or top heavy, because it is quite a high bike. The Rally Pro comes with a 20-litre tank, which is what this is, and then the Rally Explorer's the big beefy one with a 30-litre tank, which doesn't seem much bigger than this. It just feels like maybe it's filled out a bit more. I have to say, it does sound quite nice, doesn't it? It, like, although it's not loud or anything, it does sound quite beefy. It's got the 270-degree firing order like the Tiger 900 does, so you don't have that stereotypical triple sound until you hit slightly higher up the RPMs. It's got quite a nice grunty kind of noise, but it's very smooth. Yeah, this does make mine feel like a bit of a jackhammer. I think my feet are still vibrating sort of a similar amount. They're not as smooth as I'd thought they'd be, but I think it's definitely smooth. It's way less vibey than my bike. Ooh. Caught Sam, there you go. Yeah, the quick shift is very smooth as well. I think the shaft drive makes it a big difference, but when because mine is very responsive to, if the chain is slightly slack, the quick shifter feels a bit more grindy than usual, but when my chain's perfectly adjusted, it's way smoother. But also mine is very responsive to speed, so if I'm above 4,500 RPM, the quick shifter's way smoother. But there's certain speeds where you're slightly off, it's a little bit more sensitive to where the engine's sitting, but this just seems to be comfortable all the time. This has got twin radiators either side like my bike does. It's way better for cooling. You've got a few fins here, as you can see, which sort of blow the air out to the side. When you are going slow, you can feel that, but it's not hot. It's not like a hot bike. I'll just see if I can get past like one or two of them. Primarily just to test the turn of speed. Yeah, there's loads of torque, which is lovely. It's just really smooth to pick up. And that's in third. I mean, obviously mine's a little bit more aggressive. Mine's power wheelie and all sorts of shit in third. And then still third gear, 2000 RPM, and it's just crawling up the hill. Why is this guy braking? Clutch is very light as well. That's the one thing I have noticed. The indicator goes off very quickly. Right, so that's what I've been doing. So if you tap the indicator, you get 3 flashes, and then it turns off, which is almost like your car indicator, isn't it, I guess? The only thing I think, like, what would be nice, I mean, it's definitely not a necessity by any means. I very rarely use mine, if I'm completely honest. Gonna go. My Insta360's just turned towards me a bit. It's obviously not done up tight enough. Yeah, it's got loads of grunt, hasn't it? That's very nice. Yeah, the one thing, what I was going to say is the one thing that would be lovely is Triumph have gone through the effort of putting a rear-facing radar on some of the models, so you can buy the blind spot detection. For me, I would much rather have them put the money into developing a front-facing radar for radar cruise control. Because in my own opinion, I'll have people tell me this is wrong now, but in my own opinion, if you are looking at a light rather than looking over your shoulder, you shouldn't be riding a bike. Like, it's nice to have that sort of secondary sense kind of thing, but I think for me, I want to do a blind spot check. That's what I've been taught to do the entire time I've been riding a bike, and I've done it the entire time. So if I'm changing that habit to looking at a light to see if there's something behind me, I think it's encouraging laziness. I mean, not that radar cruise control isn't, but I just think if you're going to bother to put the weight of a radar system on a bike, make it a front-facing cruise control, especially on like the Explorer versions. If you've got a 30-litre tank on an Explorer, you're not going to be worried about an extra 5-10 kilos. Oh, this looks like quite a nice little bit of road. Yeah, it's very planted. Sort of put it in a corner and it just sticks wherever you put it. Oh, Tiger 900. It seems a little bit like Triumph has focused more on making this a GS beater than making it just a very good bike. Like, I think when you're at this weight, it makes more sense to me. Like, if the bike is 5 kilos heavier than the GS, but it's fantastic, it doesn't matter. But I think they made more effort to make it a fantastic bike that beats the GS in every single way. But, I mean, it doesn't mean it's not a great bike, to be fair, so I can't really complain. Maybe even put the front and rear radar sensor on, even if that added an extra 5 kilos and made it heavier than the GS. I think most people would sit there going, well, it's worth it. But yeah, it throws in so easily. I do think, like George's bike, I mean, this is me being a complete knob, but I think like George's Tiger 900 with the Arrow exhaust, it just turns the exhaust note up a tiny weeny bit, which makes it sound even better. And this sounds really good when you open it up, but there's no real noise when you're stationary, or like you're just doing a normal, like this, 48 mile an hour in fourth kind of thing. I don't know what that is, about 4,500 RPM before it starts to open up a bit. I get why people like the GS. Don't get me wrong, I get why people like it. It's it's a grunty kind of bike, and that Boxer Twin's got somewhat character to it. Whether you like it or not, it's got character to it. Whereas obviously the Triple's way smoother. I do think, like, granted in 6 months time we're going to start seeing the BMW GS 1300 coming out, so I'd be interested to see what that's like. But I do think, I mean, as a bike, if nothing else, I think I prefer this just because it's not a GS. And I know it sounds really sort of, it's difficult to say, but it sounds really stupid, but Jay Salvo has just bought himself he's traded his bike in for a GSA, his Super Adventure, and he said one of the things he noticed when he test rode the GSA is no one nodded their head at him. And I think it's because everyone's got a GS, and they're fantastic bikes, and I know why, but you kind of think, well, I want to be a bit different. So I don't know. It picks up very quickly, doesn't it? But it doesn't, there's not an event to it going quick. I think if, like my bike, when you open it up, the front wheel's coming off the floor and it's trying to throw you off the back, and it's sort of squirreling and all sorts of stuff. It just picks up, and it's really smooth in the way it does it. Ooh, that is a tight corner down here. Up. There's a lot of grunt there, enough that it keeps throwing my Insta360 back at me. I haven't owned it. Dad's the one that's owned it, and he's given me his feedback about the MPG and all that sort of stuff. He had a recall at the start, or he had a bit of an issue with the start. Being a brand new model, it's always liable to a few sort of teething issues, I guess. Oh yeah, getting your feet down's a little bit of a stretch, isn't it? I'm on my tiptoes, to be fair. When he got the bike new, everything was fine for the start, but one thing he did have an issue with was the key fob talking to the screen. So there was a point where the bike wouldn't turn itself on because it didn't recognise the key fob. There's a lot of electrical devices in Dad's garage, so it might be interference, it might be there, whatever it is specifically might be on the same frequency. So he had to put, there's a safety spot, I'm not going to say where it is actually, but there's a safety spot on this bike of if you hold the key up to it and then press the button, it will register it. It's like sort of a proximity sensor instead. So that was the first issue. Triumph did end up replacing it. So there was a scenario where Dad's bike went flat. It had only been off it for a couple of days kind of thing, and he came back to it, tried to start it, and it was completely dead, like completely dead. So I don't know what that was. Triumph were great about it. They replaced the battery, and they had a look over it, and it's sort of been fine ever since. Yeah, there's definitely a stretch to the floor, isn't there? My bike does sound really nice. Yeah, it's a tall ass bike, isn't it? Jesus. Oh, we'll get some off-roading. Neutral's easy to find. Where's the side stand? That's easy to find. Let's jump off it. Let's give you a quick walk around. So, in general, it's really smooth. It's got loads of power. It's not as aggressive with the power as that is. Like, I think my bike's very in your face, very look how much power I've got. Having the shaft drive is amazing. That's going to make a massive difference in terms of reliability and sort of general maintenance costs, I guess. But as a general bike, I think it's really nice. Let's listen to that engine. It does sound good. It sounds good. Anyway, I'm going to go now. Dad's going to get back on this bike. I'm going to get back on mine and be a knob again. Cool, that's a steep incline. Right, very quick one, ladies and gents, before we wrap up. I've just got back on my bike and I thought it'd be interesting to see what the difference is. The first thing I noticed, actually, to be fair, this does feel, I don't know whether you found this, Dad, but this feels very balanced at the low speed, and I think that's obviously down to those low tanks. It does help. I mean, it's also got a full tank, which helps with feeling balanced. But you definitely, the first thing I can feel is the engine. You can feel that kind of thumping noise, which is, compared to Dad's bike, is obviously way smoother. When I'm not as much of a knob as I am now, I think I buy that over a GS, the Tiger 12. I think once you've got a louder exhaust on it and some sort of Denali's, Steve from a bike thing, Dad's waiting for you to get that easy can done. I think I prefer that to the current GS 1250. But that is what you get from my bike, which is just a bit, you turn a corner and you've got, it's just like it's a knob machine, this thing, like a proper knob machine. So if you are a little bit more of a child like I am, you'll probably prefer this. But then again, I think, if I'm completely honest, this competes closer to the Multistrada and the S1000 XR. Well, I mean, not even really the XR, because that doesn't do off-road, but that kind of speed is this. That the Tiger competes directly with the GS, and I think currently that Tiger is better than a GS because it's different, it's got the power, it's very smooth. Triumph and BMW and KTM, they're all the same when it comes to sort of reliability factors and stuff like that, but there's something about that bike that just looks really smart, whereas like a GS still looks very smart, but I think it's starting to look a little bit long in the tooth. 1300 is going to come out soon, and apparently that's going to be really different. So we shall see. Coos. Yeah, like that there you could feel the vibrations a lot more than you could on Dad's bike. But saying that, yeah, I mean, I'm still very happy with my bike. Like, I still love this thing. It's just, it's a different type of riding experience. That's effortless kind of thing to ride, and this is just a bit of a twat. this is me as a bike, just a bit of a twat. I will now leave you to your evenings. Thank you very much for watching. We're going to go and get a picture in front of the sea, and then we're going to go home because it is 6:15 and I want my dinner. So I'll speak to you soon. Bye.